welcome to the PC Gaming Weekspot, your recap of the last 7 days in PC video gaming. My name is Colin Mahern, and joining me this week, he's dancing. It's Mr. Matthew Castle.
I'm certainly not dancing.
But I would imagine, Matthew, whilst perhaps it's something that you don't have on your own series link, I'm praying you must know what I am referencing. If you take out the word he's and put in keep.
Keep dancing. Probably Strictly.
Hooray! I should have had a Strictly sound effect lined up.
Genuinely, I have not watched like a minute of Strictly Come Dancing. I saw some clips of like, I wanted to say Bill Bryson, but that's not right.
Bill Bailey.
Bill Bailey.
Yeah.
And a man dressed as Homer Simpson.
Correct. That was last year as well. Yeah. Yep.
That's all I know.
That was Nightmare Fuel. There was one of the members of the boy band. I was going to say defunct. They probably gone on a comeback tour since doing Strictly, but of The Wanted. But that's right. Well,
I thought you said there was a boy band called Defunct. I said that's quite bleak messaging for a boy band. That's not really the vibe they go for.
Well, I'm half glad that you have only ever seen like a collective 90 seconds of Strictly, because I have here in front of me a bbc.co.uk article telling me who all of the people on this year's Strictly, who they are. So I was wondering, how many of these would you get right? So before we start, how many celebs would you think you would know? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
15 celebrities. I would hope to get at least four. I would hope that at least 5 of them are big enough that they've entered my sort of sphere.
All right. Okay, so the first one we have, and I think the BBC have done this in alphabetical order according to their first name. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. Adam Peaty.
Swimmer.
Well done, Matthew. I'm unbelievably impressed. What a start. All right. Yeah. Okay. AJ Adudu.
TV presenter.
This is far more exciting than Mr. Steam Reviews. This is brilliant. All right. Dan Walker.
Oh, no. Is he a journalist? No, he's does he present documentaries on TV?
I can't give it to you, I'm afraid. No, he is also a TV presenter. He does BBC Breakfast and Football Focus.
Oh, okay.
But look, you're doing brilliant so far. Greg Wise.
Actor.
Correct. Yes. Pride and Prejudice, Sensibility.
Was he married to Emma Thompson?
Still is. Yeah,
Still is.
Look at this extra bonus points here. John.
He played the chap who got blown up in The Crown.
Yes, he was in The Crown as well. Yeah. John Waite. Whaite.
No idea.
A celebrity chef, according to BBC.
Obviously not celebrity enough.
Judy Love.
Christ, no idea.
So the BBC call her comedian and TV presenter. I'm pretty sure she is a loose woman. I think, yes, she is indeed one of the...
That's not really for us to say.
One of the loose women.
Right, literally one of the loose women.
Okay, that's what we'll do next week.
I thought you were just getting puritanical.
Katie McGlynn.
Singer?
Actress.
Nah.
Right, not going as well. A great start.
After that great start.
I think she's in Coronation Street. Nina Wadia.
Oh, actress.
Yes, I think
she was in EastEnders. I think
she was, and goodness gracious me, yeah. That's the woman. Well done, Reese Stevenson.
No idea.
An actor and kids TV presenter. I think he's on CBeebies. Robert Webb.
Oh yeah, actor, comedian.
Yes,
author.
Indeed. I thought that was the one you would get, but you've fucking blown me out of the water here. Rose Ailing Ellis. Rose Ailing Ellis.
Comedian?
She is apparently an actress.
Mm.
She is in EastEnders as well, apparently. Sarah Davies.
Actress.
No, she apparently is on Dragon's Den. She's one of the new dragons.
She's one of the new dragons.
I say new. It's been a while since I don't know how long she's been
out with the. See, for me, dragons are like creatures of extreme age in fantasy. Like the idea is that they've aged for a long time. You know, the idea of a new dragon isn't particularly threatening.
Just doesn't compute. Tilly Ramsey.
Oh, a gardener. A gardening show person.
Social media star and children's TV presenter.
If she was really that big on social media, I would have fucking heard of her. So
she is also I didn't know of this woman until Saturday night. Apparently Gordon Ramsay's daughter.
Oh. Yeah.
Next up, second to last, Tom Fletcher.
Oh, pop star.
Well done. Can you? I have a feeling you know who he is. Can I get a bonus point out of you for his? I feel like the group he is in.
I feel like he's one of those youngish boy bands, like a McFly or a Busted.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well done. I mean, youngish McFly. When did they? I feel like they started about 20
sort of
years ago.
reform now that they're like ancient dudes.
Yes, grow adult men. Just like, it's all about you, the very gruffness to their voice. And Ugo Monye.
Sports person.
I'll give it to you. A rugby player. Matthew Castle. Incredible. I know how was that about a solid half an hour, but it was well worth it. Matthew, that
was exciting. What an exciting... We should start these things with more impromptu quizzes.
That was phenomenal. Well done. Great stuff. Sadly, we have to talk about video games now. We can't do more quizzes about celebrity reality shows. So, Matthew, would you grab your news crank and open your gob? Because I indeed have some information snacks for you.
Info snacks for his gob.
Oh, not a great week for info snacks, Matthew, because
great.
It's all...
I've just opened my gob and now you say that.
It's all delay related.
You should tell me before I get the crank out.
Lot of delays. I know we are living in the age of delays, but Jesus Christ. So, firstly, Total War Warhammer 3, which was meant to be out later this year, has been pushed to 2022. Creative Assembly said that, quote, the extra time means we can accomplish more than we could if we rushed to release this year. Which makes sense, really.
Yeah. Oh, what a shocking statement. More time means it will be better.
Another delay is Rocksmith Plus, which was meant to be out this summer, so cutting it fine for when it was going to be out, but it's now going to be coming out in 2022. Ubisoft,
I want to learn guitar so bad.
Ubisoft mentioned that they will be incorporating player feedback from the most recent closed beta. I did play that, and it did seem a bit janky, so them delaying it is no surprise, really. I understand that you would want it in the lead up to Christmas rather than post Christmas, but I guess they just have to
just lead up. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Lots of people get a guitar. Well, some people will get a guitar. Not lots of people. I don't know. Some people will get a guitar for Christmas.
Yeah.
And that will help them sort of see through their New Year's resolution of becoming a rock god.
Like your man from McFly. Another delay, and I think maybe the one that'll hit you the hardest of all these delays, Dying Light 2, which was meant to be out this December, has been pushed to, and I like this, an exact date, the 4th of February 2022. Techland CEO Paul Kuka, the CEO of Techland, I do apologise, said, quote, "Unfortunately, we've realised for us to bring the game to the level we envision, we need more time to polish and optimise it." Was that going to be, I don't know, had you envisioned Dying Light 2 being this is going to be my Christmas game, I'm going to get stuck in?
I actually, like, having looked into it a bit more, I'm kind of up for Dying Light 2. I think... and not just because it was like the only game, but the original one's pretty good. You know, It's got some cool stuff in it. I kind of fancy jumping around those big skyscrapers. I just fancy climbing up those skyscrapers with the good parkour controls from the first one. That's what I want to do.
Just you're going to have to wait a small bit longer to do that.
Oh, I'd rather that than it was like bored. I imagine it's a lot of people running scared from not wanting to do a cyberpunk. I think the bar's been raised of like, not necessarily like what isn't acceptable, but for like, I guess like developer fear of backlash.
Fair. And the last delay to highlight, and the shortest delay, is Battlefield 2042. Just a month, just been delayed by a month. It was meant to be out on the 22nd of October. It's now coming on the 19th of November.
I don't know if I was going to play that one either way.
Well, now you have an extra 4 weeks to contemplate whether you're going to play it or not, and end up going, nah. This is a weird one, and this kind of happened over the weekend. Maybe when people are watching or listening to this, it may have been confirmed now. I don't know. But currently, at time of recording, the rumour is that Quantic Dream are working on a Star Wars game. There was a French YouTuber by the name of Gautos who claimed that the developer has signed a deal with Disney. And yeah, I don't know. It's... what do you think?
X to Wookiee.
I know you're not the biggest... Well, either biggest Quantic Dream or Star Wars fan.
I thought I'm just surprised with their like legal woes they've had. That you'd think
that Disney would.
I must admit, like having read some of those stories or whatever, you sort of think, are they done? Is this studio done? Obviously not. If this is the case.
Yeah. If this is true indeed, because it's all rumor right now anyway, as me and Matthew are talking. THQ Nordic, on Friday, they had their first THQ Nordic Direct type thing where they announced 6 new games and none of them were time splitters. They announced Jagged Alliance 3, the Destroy All Humans 2 remake.
More like time wasters.
Superpower 3, MX vs ATV Legends, Outcast 2, A New Beginning, and SpongeBob SquarePants: The Cosmic Shake. I'm gonna hazard a guess, Matthew, that you are at most ambivalent about these 6 games. And
I really liked Outcast 1.
Oh, did you? I do apologise.
That was like quite an early sort of open worldy game. Had some mad systems for like. You're on like an alien planet and you could talk to people and to learn their language through talking to them. It was quite experimental and strange and ambitious. I must admit, I haven't really looked massively into this second one in terms of, who's involved with it and everything. It's a lot of love for Jagged Alliance as well. Not a series I know masses amount, but in terms of the kind of slightly kind of turn-based strategy thing, is it not?
I do think though. Yeah. Okay. So you've there are some there's the SpongeBob community who obviously adore that game. So like there are games here that have their niches, but I think when THQ Nordic were saying, right, we're going to step up, we're doing our own showcase, our own direct, I half expected that there would, as well as these the games on that level, I was half expecting a Time Splitters or a Dead Island or I don't know, something have there, and finally, and then boom, THQ Nordic have arrived. But they were all fine games, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And finally, Matthew, your last information snack. For some reason, there's going to be a TV show about Driver on an OTT service called Binge.
Binge. I don't think that I could ever sign up for a service that so brazenly, explains itself like that.
Well,
I wouldn't I probably wouldn't eat at a restaurant that's called Cran.
Stuffed. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think have some dignity. I want to pretend that I'm sophisticated a tiny bit. I don't want to be reminded that I'm just disgusting animal with no self-control.
Ubisoft seem determined to take some of varying degrees their beloved franchises, and rather than making new games, they're like, yeah, Splinter Cell anime, a Driver live action TV show, Rayman, yeah, stick him in Brawlhalla. It's like, all right, sure, I guess.
Yeah, it's I hope the first episode of the Driver show is just the guy trying to pass his driving test, like the first bit of Driver 1, which was so difficult. That is a game I'm convinced a lot of people didn't actually get to play just because they couldn't do the tutorial.
Quite possibly. I think when I think of Driver, I know people might, most recently may think of San Francisco. I think of Driver 3 and how even at the time I was thinking, you can get out of the car. Okay, cool, yeah. Going more GTA, but the game is called, it's dry. Surely, you want to focus on the actual driving aspects.
Driver 3 was, what a shocker.
It's like you want to actually just drive the car. It felt like when they said, Tony Hawk's skateboarding, you can get off the board. It's like,
we bought that because one of those bogus 9 out of 10s it got.
The Driver
3, yeah. Do you remember this? There were a couple of early reviews that gave it 9 out of 10, and then it was actually probably a sub, a 4 or 5 or something, or a 3 or a 4.
I do remember, yeah.
Terrible.
Matthew, so those are your information snacks for this week. So let's get on to some hot speculation. Take it away, Hugh.
Hello, I'm Hugh Edwards. Working in news is exciting.
Yes, headlines and hot takes is the part of the PC Gaming Weekspot where we take you through the bigger news stories of the past 7 days. And there was one that caught my eye. And I don't know, maybe it's been sort of debunked now. Some people have debunked certain aspects of this story, but it's a bit of fun, Matthew. A bit of fun to chat and see what's going on here.
Fun. I like fun.
So, I think actually just after we recorded last week's episode, there was a list that got leaked, and no, not by Games Leaker or any of the other recurring characters on the PC Gaming Weekspot. A reverse engineering enthusiast by the name of Igor July posted a blog that went through their findings, which was a leaked list of approximately 18,000 games on GeForce Now, on the database for GeForce Now. Now, of the 18,000, some were applications, there was a Photoshop, and there was all these different things, and some were duplicates as well. But of the games mentioned, right, some interesting ones, we'll talk about the validity of some of them, but you had God of War, you had Returnal, you had Horizon Forbidden West, you had Ghost of Tsushima, and you had Demon Souls. Now, when it comes to PlayStation games, that was kind of the biggies, I guess. But there was no mention of The Last of Us, Spider-Man, or hilariously, Bloodborne, which is the PlayStation game the PC players want. There were also other games on the list that haven't been announced. Some are rumoured, some are not. So here they are. You have Titanfall 3, XCOM 3, Gears 6, Dragon's Dogma 2, Crysis 4, the Resi 4 remake, Street Fighter 6, Half-Life 2 remastered, Tekken 8, Final Fantasy 7 remake, A Cuddly Toy, BioShock 2022, and the remasters of Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. Now, shortly after this list leaked, Nvidia told WCCF Tech, quote, Nvidia is aware of an unauthorized published game list with both released and or speculative titles, used only for internal tracking and testing. Inclusion on the list is neither confirmation nor an announcement of any game, end quote. And not many developers or publishers have come out and actually said, no, this is complete bullshit. But 343 Industries Community Director Brian Gerard did comment on one game that was on there, which was Halo 5. And he said, quote, there are no plans to bring Halo 5 to PC, end quote. So, with that in mind, yeah, some of it could be complete wallop. It could be people working at Nvidia and testing GeForce Now and having a bit of a laugh and sticking Titanfall 3 on, like, you know, I'll stick Titanfall 3 on there because when Matthew loads up this database that we all use, he'll go, what? And then I'll be able to go, gotcha. It's actually Notepad that opens when you click on Titanfall. I don't know. But I don't know how much, like, what are you thinking? Like the fact that 343 are, again, at time of recording, the only people that have, I think I saw some outlet contacted Valve, but Valve didn't say anything about Half-Life. How much credence would you give to this list of games?
I mean, probably not a lot, to be honest. I think the way they described it as, you know, we have all this placeholder stuff, I don't know, that kind of sounds legit to me.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, like, just sort of type some shit in here. People do it all the time in their jobs. You know, we used to have all kinds of like you know, when we were working on mad planning documents for like theoretical things and like, you know, oh, is this, you know, note to self, you know, here are things we're interested in if they were to happen, and like ask about in interviews and whatnot. And, you know, if you leaked that document, and obviously it wouldn't be quite the same thing because it does just be the ramblings of like a lone magazine editor. But, you know, I can sort of see someone having this stuff like, we have to populate this thing with lots of names, so we may as well fill it full of that. I think the thing that was a little more suspicious was the fact that it had a few like project titles of stuff.
Yes, so there was, like, even when it comes to Microsoft, Avowed was mentioned, I believe. I'm just trying to find it here. But there was also, there was, I'm looking at it now. There was Project Woodstock, which was believed to be a Forza. It's not specified what Forza it is, whether that is, like, if it was Horizon 5, I'd imagine that would have been there, but maybe it's Motorsport 8. Is that the next one? There was also Project Typhoon, which is believed to be Contraband, and Project Holland, which is believed to be Fable. Have they confirmed the new Fable is coming to PC? I can't remember.
Well, only in that everything they make comes to PC and Xbox PC.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the only Fable currently available on PC right now. I mean, it makes sense now that, Microsoft, you know, the PC and console ecosystem is much more connected. But isn't Fable Anniversary, I think, and Fable The Journey?
Yeah, but I thought now, like, I don't think it was a blanket statement as such, but I think you tend to assume their first party things are coming to PC as well. Like, that has been the case for a few years now, so it's quite rare.
It's also worth mentioning as well, like, Mario and Rabbids was on this list.
See, that's never going to happen. Like, just no, like, that is just an absolute no.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you're like, come on, that's just type some That is pure wish fulfillment.
I was sort of on board with the list when this all came out until I saw that, and I was like, I could be wrong, but that makes me think then that like everything is bullshit. I don't know.
Even though this isn't that, I am quite a big fan of not the existence of like bullshit leaks, but like the art of the bullshit leak, where someone says like, oh, I found this document which has got the lineup for the next Nintendo Direct, or oh, I found this thing from that actually lists, and it's like a blurry phone photo where they've rigged up the whole document and it's like internal document only. And the art of it is trying to feed people enough like believable stuff so that the bullshit sounds like legit. Because it's like people who are like, oh, I've got a list from the next PlayStation conference, and like the first thing on the list is like Bloodborne 2, and you're like, no, like you've ruined it. You've gone too early far with your bullshit. Yeah. You need to go, here's all the mediocre shit, because that's the problem with these lists. They forget how terrible every conference is, basically. And so you need to lace it with all the disappointing shit you're definitely going to get. And then you slide in your, nonsense. But even judging the nonsense is very, like if you're like Mario versus Batman, like you fucked it. Like that's never going to happen. But like, Mario Galaxy 3 or some kind of vague expansion pack for Smash Brothers. I like the idea of someone sitting there really thinking like, how am I gonna trick him with this? And this isn't one of those. But Mario Rabbids one would have blown it. I was going to ask, of the things that were on the list, if any of them could be true, which ones would you most like?
Because there's a couple of obvious ones. Like looking at the PlayStation stuff, because it mentions, say, God of War, but that's obviously the first one. Like the thing with PlayStation games is they'll come out on the PlayStation, or at least that's what we have seen with Days Gone, the first Horizon, something else that won't come to mind, but Death Stranding. Like there's a solid 18 months to 2 years between them coming out, and that's too long for me. I want them to be quicker. So something like a Horizon Forbidden West, I'd be like, yeah, I'd be up for that. Excited, maybe. Like I wouldn't be champing at the bit to play it, but I'd like to see what that would look like on PC if they ironed out all the kinks that many people had with the first one. But realistically, it would be Titanfall 3, it would be Gear 6, it would be BioShock 2022. Probably would be my top 3, I'd say. Like, but even say like Gears, like some of these things, even if they haven't been, if nobody at Microsoft has said to anyone at Nvidia, like if the conversation, listen, Gear 6 is going to be coming out, right? So if you want to put that in your database, crack on, we'll swap contact details. If that conversation has never happened, you can still believe that Gear 6 is going to be coming out and will be on PC.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
it's a solid bet.
Yeah, I mean, they've said they're making another Gears game.
Like,
I think.
so
it's not like a...
But that's what I mean. So like a lot of these are just, yeah, it's we know there's going to be a new BioShock, but that's all we know.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it says BioShock 2022, yeah, that's maybe a bit interesting. But Titanfall 3, sign me up. Sign me up tomorrow. Definitely up. What about you?
Half-Life 2 Remastered is such bullshit.
Do you think?
Yeah. They won't. It's just, it just doesn't keep with anything they've done for that to be a thing. They leave it to a community, they'll let, they're the one company who would let the community make their own remastered version of it. And they did with frickin' Half-Life 1.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, the childish, vindictive part of me likes it when PlayStation exclusive comes to PC, just because it upsets the PlayStation hardcore fans, which is hilarious. So ideally, as many of those things as possible. Because it's nice to see how things are meant to look, isn't it? So, unlock it from those primitive machines that you so love. I don't know. I'm trying to wind up with that really, because it's not like any PlayStation people watch this. Yeah, I mean, like, of the things which feel like total fantasy, I would happily play another Titanfall 3, but just don't see them doing that. They had such a rough ride with Titanfall 2 and,
making money hand over fist with Apex Legends.
Yeah, there's just no reason to, you don't, whoever makes the move from the thing that was a success back to something else, which is like a proven, failure, quote unquote. Yeah, God, Crisis 4. I don't think there's a game I could give less of a hoot about than there being another Crisis. Never has a series left me more cold than that.
But it's all, can your PC run Crisis, Matthew?
Yeah, there's that element, but that I think everyone gets so distracted with that they forget that it's just about a man in like a weird suit with quite unenjoyable powers. I just don't the whole vibe of Crisis, like the tone of it, the story of it, the setting of it, everything it's trying to do just doesn't interest me. The hardcore, like, can your PC run it, doesn't interest me. It's like it's like the worst elements of PC gaming all bundled together for me.
I mean, in truth, the game
I would like Digital Foundry, so
yeah. In truth, the game I would like to see on this list to come to fruition is Mario and Rabbids, because that would be phenomenal. I would love it.
I mean, that's the thing. I would feel the rage that the PlayStation fans feel.
I'd love it. I'd love to see. Oh, not because you specifically.
I love that Nintendo are like too pure for any other machine. Like that. That is a very important part of Nintendo's identity. I would be upset if Nintendo started releasing.
You wouldn't.
On non-Nintendo hardware. Yeah, absolutely. Stubborn to the very end. I love that about Nintendo.
Oh, Matthew.
It's like they're the only ones. They're like still absolutely elite. They're holding their ground. I love it. They've had so many opportunities to sell out and shift to other platforms, and they've never done it. I think that's very admirable.
Yeah, I do. They are a mega corporation. With an admirable. Anyway, and another story, Matthew, is kind of tech corner, but a somber tech corner.
Ooh.
As it was last week, it was confirmed or reported by BBC on last Thursday that
when you say it like that, I'm just going to say, when you say, well, it was reported by the BBC, that makes it sound like only one place reported it, so it might not be true.
Do you know what I mean? Initially,
it is true.
Initially reported by the BBC.
It's not like a Jeff Grubb has leaked it.
Sir Clive Sinclair of ZX Spectrum fame has passed away. He passed away last Thursday of cancer, aged 81. And he, founded the company that gave us the ZX Spectrum in 1982, which was, for many people, their sort of entryway into video games, specifically in the UK. Now, Matthew, I know that probably wasn't your entryway into video games. I don't know if you've ever. Did you ever lay hands on a ZX Spectrum? Was it ever anything?
It's a tiny bit before my time.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
I coexist with it, but gaming sort of, I don't know, entered our childhoods a little later than some.
What was your first? What was your ZX Spectrum? Was it the NES?
No, we had like a second-hand Amiga 500 quite late in the Amiga's lifespan. So, yeah, that was the first thing we had. And we never really understood it because, people don't really explain these things to you. We could make games run on it and stuff, but it took us, not joking, probably a good year, 2 years of owning it to work out how to format a save disk. so that we could actually save our games, because it was, not all kind of self-contained and self-explanatory as like consoles.
Kids these days, they don't know how good they have it.
Well, we didn't really. I think that machine was slightly wasted on us. Like the whole formatting a save disk thing meant like if we had point and click games, you basically had to do them in like one go.
Oh,
so my attempts to complete like Monkey Island 2 were literally not like speed running it by the end, but like every time I played it, it was like, right, I'm going to attempt to play Monkey Island 2 from the start every single time.
And did you always think, this is so odd, why did they make the game so that I have to start from, or were you just young and like, I guess this is how it is? So.
Well, that's it. You're just like, well, I assume this is it. Actually, I think I did have an idea that like there was something you could do to remedy this. But yeah, like it was just, because remember my folks bought it and they just, we just had it with like a big pile of games, and it was just kind of like plug it into the TV and off you go. And then we just never really understood how to, who explains this stuff?
Exactly.
Nothing, it's a different age.
It is.
We didn't have we didn't have like access to the internet, so it wasn't like we could just look it up.
Just Google how to save game. Couldn't do that back in the day.
Dear
Alta
Jeeves,
Vista.
how do I format a save disk on an Amiga?
So those are your headlines and hot takes this week. So now it's time to tell you about the video games that we've been playing over the last 7 days.
Show and tell, show and tell. We can't afford a proper jingle. It's meant to be jingle.
Yes, Show and Tell is the part of the PC Gaming Weekspot where we take you through and tell you about and show you the games that we've played over the last week. And as I'm dropping stuff here, Matthew, the two of us have been playing the hot game out right now. I sadly haven't put as much into it as I would like because I've had to play another game, which I'll talk about in a moment. But I've probably put about, I think my Steam said 8 hours, give or take. Have you rinsed this one, or is there still?
No, I still haven't finished it. I'm still playing it.
Okay. Well, I know we spoke about it a bit last week, but it's very good, Matthew, isn't it? It's very good. Deathloop. Oh, I like this.
And my slightly bad footage, because every time I went to record this, I just ended up having an absolute stinker of a run and not really achieving anything. So apologies for that. I've tried to edit around me dying loads.
That's okay.
Also, I was playing with a PS5 controller because I was being lazy and playing it on the couch, so I didn't have the mouse and keyboard handy.
That's
This
fine.
is on PC, I should add.
Have we kind of, I don't know, I know you went into it a bit last week, but did we actually, for people who don't know, because what Deathloop is, because it does take some little explaining.
The very quick version of this is you wake up on an island where you are trapped in a time loop, and it soon becomes apparent that the only way to escape this time loop and get on with your life is to kill the sort of 8 people who kind of run the island, who are called the Visionaries, that they have engineered the time loop, and its stability is tied to their ongoing life. You have to kill them, but the catch is as the task is presented to you at the start of the game, it's sort of impossible. You can't be in all places at once. You can't get to them all in the course of a day. Certain people are available in certain districts. The island's split into 4 regions. You can visit each of them at 4 different times of day. But because of that, 2 Visionaries might exist in different locations in the same, say at afternoon. So it's technically impossible to get them. So you have to start engineering a plan where you can, this is me getting killed by Juliana. You have to engineer a plan whereby you can kill them all in a day. And that's kind of the big mystery of it, is kind of how to use your your sort of knowledge that you're accruing to build a master plan to take them all down in one perfect day.
I think it sums it up very well. As I say, I haven't gotten to that stage yet, really, because I think you even mentioned last week that the first 3 hours maybe are sort of the tutorial, but like not a tutorial in traditional sense where the game is telling you, move the right analog stick or whatever, or the mouse to move around or move your head. It's not that tutorially, but it's the game explaining the rules of this world and how you are meant to play it, because it is a little bit different. There obviously there are similarities with other games. Jesus Christ, it's an immersive sim. So, and if you've played Arkane's previous games, you will understand the language of it quite early on.
I think the thing it takes sort of great pains to explain is this weird time structure of the day that you can visit the locations and that they are in different states at different times in the day, and that knowledge you learn later in the day will help you achieve different things when you return to the same place earlier in the day. And so that it basically has to teach you to like loosen up a little bit so that you're not worried about achieving everything at once, because you just can't. So like individual runs can probably feel like a lot more like failure than you are used to. And the game almost has to tutorialize being comfortable with that, which is kind of that's the interesting thing about the rhythm in this game. Is like what counts as a win isn't necessarily like, oh, I have killed one of the visionaries, but I've learnt this piece of information. If I now die, it doesn't really matter because I retain that information, and like that door code is actually what I wanted here. So like going into a place, then getting murdered, as long as you achieve that mini goal, that's sort of fine. And it does take a little while to kind of get into that headset. This is me killing a Juliana. It does take a little while to get into that sort of mindset. But once you do, it's much you get more into the rhythm of it, and you can kind of see what it's going for. But you have to unlearn a couple of things first, I would say.
Because some people might think, oh, it's a loop, so it's a roguelike, and it's not. As you said, you're accruing knowledge of the behaviors of visionaries or their locations or their relationships with other characters, etc., and you're also accruing equipment as well, because to your point, some because throughout a day you can go to you have 4 different opportunities to go to locations, and sometimes it's worthwhile to go, look, I'm not going to do it on this run, so therefore I'm going to use this opportunity to go to whatever, pick a location, Carl's Bay, during the afternoon, and I'm just going to grab some residium, which is the currency in Deathloop, to then bring back to my my HQ, and I'm going to use that residium to infuse guns or infuse powers. And what that does then is then you get to take those guns or those abilities forevermore. They are yours, and you can take them into a next run and so on and so forth. Because when you start this game, or at least I was playing it incredibly stealthily. I don't mean I was being incredible in my stealth. I mean I was trying to be as quiet as possible. And then I killed one of the visionaries, and I got a badass gun, and that allowed me to be a bit more aggressive in how I played the game. And it is, I don't know, the way it teaches you the rule set, the way it teaches you the world and how everything works together, I think is terrific, because immersive sims, right, are in Deus Ex, in Prey, in whatever it is, the joy is coming up against a brick wall and the game telling you have 3 ways to get around this brick wall. How do you want to do it? And you do it option A, you do it that way, and you carry on. Maybe you'll play the game again in a couple of years' time. Maybe you loved it, you'll go do New Game Plus, but a lot of us will do option A and move on with our lives. What Deathloop does is it kind of makes you appreciate the other ways to do things because you're revisiting this location. It is, and I can't remember, I think I might have mentioned it to you last week and you weren't too keen on the Hitman comparison, but I think it does have a lot of that DNA because a Hitman level is all about figuring out all of the puzzle pieces and how that can go into that one, that can go there, and just figuring out the different solutions because Deathloop is rife with that as well.
Yeah, I don't think like the individual like visionary hits in this are anywhere near as sophisticated or complicated or interesting as like a Hitman hit. I think it's sort of Hitman stretched over a day in that, say like in a Hitman level in Paris, you're like, I know if I do this, he'll be in this part of the level. And if I do this, he'll be in that part of the level. And then these assassination attempts open up. Where here, it's a lot more like, I know if I do this in the morning, this character will be forced to do this in the afternoon. And it's more like the wider structure. I find the actual individual, like once you know where a character is, it's a bit more like you go there and you shoot them. Like there's not like room for like particularly out there signature kills. Like there are definitely layers of cleverness and like more interesting things you can do, but like like this person you see me killing here, this is Harriet in the Coles Bay, like it's played out pretty much, I haven't found much variation in the actual killing of her. Like it feels like it's kind of locked in, like how I meant to do that. And that isn't a criticism as such, but that's maybe where like I think the Hitman comparison like ends. It's like Hitman on a grand scale. You don't kind of see the, in Hitman you go into a world and you have the big mansion in Hitman 3 in the second Mendoza. Yeah, I don't think the individual set pieces are as complicated. You go to a party and the guy's walking around and there's a few things he does, but it's like that party is the most traditional like Hitman-like setting. And it doesn't have anywhere near the same complexity as a Hitman level, say. Also, like, the game is just much more comfortable as an action experience than Hitman is. Like, when it goes wrong, it just becomes, like, quite a raucous shooter. I say when it goes wrong, I mean, it doesn't feel like stealth is right. Like, stealth is helpful, action is helpful. That's actually the thing that I having played a lot more of it now, I like the most about it. Is that where before, I always played Arkane's games like purely stealthy, like I'm very much like a ghost all the way through Dishonored. Here, like certain skills suit certain set pieces, certain times of day better. Like there are times of day where, particularly, as the day goes on, like there are a lot more enemy forces, so it's maybe more of an action experience. Or a character may lock down an area and make it quite security heavy. So then all of a sudden it becomes a lot more about like hacking and turning those defenses against them. A bit like the classic Deus Ex, it's a bit more air vents and gun turrets. Then there are areas where, there are lots of enemies. And if you can sneak through and take them out quietly, you're going to avoid probably quite an unpleasant fight. Like, without spoiling it, there's a couple of very interesting... There's at least one very interesting mechanic which makes you very, very vulnerable in particular locations. And all of a sudden, stealth becomes like paramount. And what I like about it is that it actually teases you into like every corner of the game's mechanics quite organically. It doesn't feel like, oh man, I wish this could all be stealth, or I wish this could all be action. I feel like it's stealth when you need it to be, it's action when you need it to be, and that's actually very well done. And they have always struggled with this, in the past of like players like stealth. How do we make them engage with all our cool, violent abilities? And the truth is, you can't. Here, you can, and a lot of that is just because you are in this time loop. It feels like, well, if I do it like this today, I can do it somehow different tomorrow. It doesn't feel like you only have one shot. It doesn't feel like super important how you do it in any given run. No. And that really loosens you. It definitely loosened me up. And I think that's their biggest achievement here.
Once you realize, save scumming isn't a thing, and you sort of have to give yourself, sounding a bit wanky now, but like you have to give yourself to their systems and to their game and just realize that, kind of to your point, that dying isn't failure, or not killing all 8 visionaries in one run isn't failure. It's you getting more knowledge, getting more guns, getting more abilities, getting whatever it is, you're becoming more powerful to leading up to when you can actually complete the game.
Yeah, there's a couple of moments where I think there are lots of mechanics in this which are like really interesting by themselves. So there's a thing, again, I won't spoil it, that kind of removes your backup lives and basically makes you incredibly vulnerable. You only have 1 life because of it. There's another mechanic where Juliana can invade your world. This could be an AI presence, or it can be controlled by another human player. And likewise, you can invade other people's world as Juliana. And taken alone, they're quite interesting because you're feeling very vulnerable, and then there's this other thing where you're suddenly being hunted by this, for me, always been a human presence, which makes it very unpredictable and interesting. But if you're trying to do those things at the same time, if you're using this mechanic which leaves you vulnerable, and then the game suddenly spawns a Juliana in your world, it's this emergent moment of like high tension that is absolutely brilliant. If you then add on top of that, say in that state you have achieved something, like you've got a valuable slab, which are like the superpowers in this game, or you've found an amazing gun and you want to get out of the level so that you can infuse that weapon, which is the process by which you can basically save weapons and powers for the next run through and future run throughs. But you have to get out of the level in one piece first. You've got this vulnerability, you've got something you want to protect, and then it drops this person who can now do some serious damage. This is what happened to me last night. It was just like, oh, wow, like this whole thing, it really kind of came together and created this brilliant sort of like, fully unpredictable story of like, I have this power, I can now use this power, but I have to use it to get out of this level in one piece so that I don't have to get it again in another run. It just, I think that's when the game feels very special to me.
I was going to ask you about the Juliana stuff. I mean, have you played much as Juliana?
I've played a few hours of it, yeah.
Okay, so how I don't know,
so
how do you find the actual... Go on.
Yeah, I really like it because the whole thing Juliana is like, ideally, I've heard a lot of people say it's more like end game content, like maybe finish the story campaign first. And that kind of makes sense because weirdly, you get to see the levels in a way that you don't as Colt, because you can walk around them freely. Like you could explore them and find routes. You can't pick anything up or read any documents, but you can like work out where everything is and how everything works to use that knowledge as Colt later. Maybe that's cheating, I don't know. But the interesting thing is you have to kind of think like Colt to kind of anticipate him. So when you're in a particular level, you're like, well, you can hunt Colt in a very practical way, like looking for like dead bodies or where there should be guards, because when they die, they leave like a sort of shimmer. Hacked gun turrets and cameras, you're like, well, if that's hacked, I know he's been this way. So you can use that to kind of track him. If he gets seen, that alerts you like he's over here, so you can go that way. But otherwise, if they're playing stealthily and they're playing well, you have no idea where he is. So you have to start thinking, well, if I was Colt in this level, what am I trying to achieve? And how could I like fuck him knowing that? So like, is he going for these visionaries? Is he going for these couple of key sort of objectives? So like Carl's Bay in the morning, for example, there's only really a couple of very important things there. Like likelihood is they're trying to kill Harriet. So you can go and like, maybe booby trap the entrances to Harriet that you know of to try and make it harder. Or you can pick up the gun turrets from other places in the level, bring them to Harriet and like lace her layer with gun turrets. You can try and think that way. And I think that's where it gets really interesting, because you're using what you've learned in your story mode to try and get the drop on other people's story mode.
I haven't played loads as what's her name? Juliana. But because like that, I was it last night. I was like, I'll give a bit of this a go, and I found like I was not cheating, but I was like, maybe I shouldn't be coming to this area right now.
That's why I think you're meant to cut, because it is odd having such easy access to places which are meant to feel a bit more exclusive. And
it's like it's not cheating. The game allows game allows you to, but it feels it just feels I don't know. But it's I think it's very good. I really like this.
That Juliana stuff is could have been quite throwaway. It could be better. Like there's definitely some limitations to it, but it just makes it very interesting as a cult player to have a human Juliana doing interesting things, because whenever it's been the computer, the AI Juliana, she's that much easier to kill. But when you're playing with a human, sometimes they can just absolutely screw it up and they just fall off a cliff themselves and that's it. But otherwise, some like quite interesting things can happen where she does some really unpredictable stuff, or she comes at you, she times it to get you just as you're like at your most vulnerable. Hilariously, like you've got to type a keypad to exit the level, and she killed me there, like right at the exit when I was farting around with the keypad. That was annoying. Things like that. I just think there's a level of there's just some like really creative thinking, and it in a world which is highly clockwork, having this absolute wild card in the mix controlled by another person, I think is just a super smart idea. And like she has her own like skill tree not skill tree, but she has her own like skill unlock system. So the more you play as Juliana, you get juicier powers. Of course, if as Colt you kill Juliana, you can strip her of those powers. So it's actually a way to get like better weapons and the slab powers that you haven't unlocked playing the game like naturally. Like
that's actually just talking about the slabs, the special abilities. I love that overall. I think it's 5 powers are in the game, and I love that because sometimes I really liked Prey. I think we're not talking about Prey. I really liked Prey overall, but that at times it felt like. Or just immersive sims overall, to pick a Deus Ex, pick whatever. Sometimes you can be overwhelmed by all of these abilities and you only have a set number of points. You're like, I don't know, do I put it all into this? Then I'm locking myself out of this other power. Like in this, it only gives you this small number and it allows you to then choose. You can have 2 with you when you go out on a run. But having such a small number allows you to get to grips with them much quicker than, say, other immersive sims where there are countless amounts of powers. And there is an upgrade system with them as well, as you say, if you...
Well, that's the thing. Like every time you kill a visionary, you get like a new kind of perk for their power, which you can then slot in because it knows that you're going to have to kill the visionaries several times over. That's a very neat system. I really like that. I also think what I like about the powers is that maybe a couple of them more than others, like invisibility and like the warp jump, which is kind of like Blink in Dishonored, they can like really dramatically change like what's available to you. So actually they do have a bigger impact on like future assassination attempts. Like you can get to people much faster or much more easily with certain powers. So being able to repeat them does change that, because that was always the thing in Dishonored. It felt a little like, these villains you're trying to get have like 1 life in the level and you can use your powers in one particular way. You only get like 1 shot at doing it without like having to kind of like reload the level basically. Where here, like I'm going to be killing Harriet like potentially tens of times.
Yeah.
So why not like, sneak up as an invisible person and break her neck in 1, or why not like tie her life to a lowlier goon and kill that goon to kill her easily, a bit like Domino in Dishonored 2. the warp lets you maybe skip entire chunks of level by jumping up to an open window to give you easy access to somewhere. It's just the structure is such a better showcase for what Arkane do well.
Yeah.
I think is my lasting impression. I will say though, like, I don't think it is perfect. You know, if I have one criticism of it, I think at times it is a little too handholdy in like some of the time puzzling stuff. Like, there's quite a clear sort of objective path through the game to get the visionaries. And the game has a habit, I think it fills in the gaps a little bit too much. You know, you can learn this information and it will tell you then, like, well, because of this, we know we can go and do this. And I'd almost wish there was a mode where you could turn that final step off. So you learn the information and then you go, oh, wait, well, that means they're going to be here at here. I should go and try that, you know. And it doesn't do that. It almost, it is complicated, but it almost overestimates how complicated it is.
Okay.
And because of that, I think there are moments where I'm like, I would have figured that out, you know. And it must have been a real challenge, like balancing that. And I imagine that is something they wrestled with for the whole development because, you know, it's the whole thing the game's built on is kind of the cleverness of the structure. But then if it's too clever, people can't get their head around it. But I just think having played Outer Wilds, which had a very similar thing of like, you learn this information and then you have to kind of put it together. That game didn't put it together for you. And I was fine and I loved it. And that's where it really elevated it for me. And I just wish here there was a mode or a difficulty setting where you could just tone down like how much the game tells you itself, because it's a little over enthusiastic in places.
That's fair. I haven't.
That's my beef. That's my one beef.
That's fair. I haven't run into much of that yet. As I say, I have played 7-ish hours. I've killed, I don't know how. Like, I haven't killed loads of visionaries yet. Single digits on different runs. But currently, I think it's good. I'm very much enjoying it. I'm very much enjoying the fact that yes, it marries stealth and action together so well, giving you like, it just gives you options, as a good immersive sim does. It gives you options. How do you want to do it? And you never feel like you're wasting time or you're wasting opportunities, because you are getting information. You're getting, at worst, you're getting residuum that you can then use to infuse guns or whatever it is. So yeah, I'm looking forward to chipping away more at that.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm coming up to the last stretch of it now. Like I've kind of, I've got people in a kind of workable solution, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we shall see.
Very good, very good. We're going to take a very quick break after all that Deathloop chat, and we will be back right after this. We here at Rock Paper Shotgun want to create the best PC games related content out there. I mean, we're doing a lot of that already, but you can help us continue to do that and also help us do a little more. All you have to do is grab an RPS subscription over at rockpapershotgun.com/subscribe. You can support us at 2 different tiers. The standard subscription will give you an ad-free RPS, you'll get discounts on our merch, and you'll get a letter from the editor post every month too. The premium tier subscription gives you all of those lovely things I just mentioned, plus some exclusive articles and podcasts, as well as some smashing new video games and in-game items. I don't want to say free because you're paying money for the subscription, but you know, it's a little something on top. So, if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, head on over to rockpapershotgun.com/subscribe and give us your money. Please. You get good things in return, so it seems like a win-win for everyone involved. In anticipation of a transaction and because my mother reared me well, thank you very much. Welcome back, dear viewer, dear listener, to the PC Gaming Weekspot. We're all Deathlooped out, but not video gamed out, Matthew, as over the past week, I have been playing Kena Bridge of Spirits. So, if you don't know, this is the quite cutesy, very nice looking action-adventure game that caused a bit of a splash when it was first shown off during one of the PlayStation showcases or something like that. But yeah, that is out this week. And I don't know, I've kind of landed somewhere in the middle with this. Like, first of all, I suppose, yeah, it's from a developer called Ember Lab, who began life as an animation studio, and this is their first game. And that's quite clear. You know, their pedigree is quite clear because the cutscenes are exceptional. But I suppose to give you the setup, if you don't know anything about it, you play as Kena, who is this spirit guide in this world that has become corrupted, which is literally reddish brown glowy bits that signify baddies are around, and then you beat the baddies and the corruption goes away and the world turns into this lush green jungle-like area. And spirit guides in this world, they help people to get over their trauma so that then they can pass on to the afterlife. So as I say, the cutscenes, proper glorious, like really beautiful, obviously not Pixar level quality here, but who is? But they're striving for that. And to be fair to them, they kind of flirt with the idea of reaching that quality at times. But the story itself is very cookie cutter and just a little bit dry for my tastes. Like the Rot, who I'll talk about in a minute, they are these kind of small, soot-like little fluffy balls. If you're watching this, you can see them running around. They add a very nice level of sweetness to the whole thing. But the story it's just lacking some oomph there for me, essentially. How it actually plays is it feels like they've taken inspirations from a couple of games. So at times it feels a bit Horizon Zero Dawn, at times it feels a bit Uncharted, at times it feels a bit Legend of Zelda-ish. And what they've done is they've just kind of smushed all those inspirations into one, and they've created something that is successful to varying degrees. Like, to me, out of all of those series, the one that I keep coming back to is Uncharted, and specifically Uncharted Drake's Fortune, which is the first one.
Right.
Because that game was far from perfect. You could see the gem of something there. And that sums up a lot of my feelings about Kena. And I suppose when talking about Uncharted Drake's Fortune, like, just not even just the overall feeling, but, you know, it has the Uncharted traversal. And the setting is quite Drake's Fortune as well. Like, there are trinkets to find in what is a restrictive open world. I'll talk about that more in a minute. There are clearly marked ledges for you to grab onto while climbing. There are enemy areas to clear. And you know, there are, again, it is beautiful. Like, you when you climb up to a high point, you can swing the camera around and go, ooh, oh, this is lovely. I'm not trying to be flippant because it is genuinely lovely to look at. And it does live up to what they showed off in trailers. But yeah, it is restrictive, I found. And what I mean by that is that some of the little traversal puzzles annoyed me because they require you to follow an exact path. It just felt a bit, I should say, kind of PS3-ish. Right. Like, you would jump on an object. So say you just want to get onto that ledge that's above you and you see a cart or something that clearly can help you get up to that height. So you go, all right, I'm going to jump onto that and then jump onto the ledge. But the object clearly isn't, it's set dressing. It's not there for you to jump on. It's hollow. So when you jump on it, Kena's Arkane, I should say. It is Kana. Her animation sort of freezes and you just slide down off the object. And it's the developer going, no, that's not the proper way to do it. And you know that. And I get it. It's not a red card offense, but it's just a bit frustrating. And it reminds you that, this isn't a totally open world. Because it's a big map. You're not going to different levels.
I really hate like bogus like stuff which is just art, and like when you jump towards it or try and touch it, the game just doesn't. They haven't accounted for it, and it like looks rough. You basically slide off until you reach the level again. Even like Ratchet and Clank does that. The allegedly most gorgeous game ever made has got some like serious jank when you do anything outside of its natural boundaries. It's
just a bit frustrating.
Yeah,
as I say,
I always think that's it feels a bit budget. It really takes me out of the world.
Especially when it is, this one big map. It's not different levels. I mentioned Zelda as well as a comparison point. Like, you will have quest markers on the map, but you're not given, like, you don't have like the BioShock line on the ground to follow. You don't have whatever. Like, you must make it to that quest marker yourself. So it's not Zelda in that you put the quest markers down, but it does sort of leave you to your own devices to explore the world and get to the marker, get to the location that you need to. And then when I feel like I figured out a way to get there, like, I'm not trying to Skyrim my way up a mountain. I feel like, look, there's an object that will give me a bit more height to jump over this wall. Yeah. And when the game says, no, I'm like, all right. But one of the more interesting parts of the game is the combat. Eventually, you finish the game with, I think it's about 4 weapons. There's like a staff that you can swipe. There's some bombs, a bow and arrow, and something else that I can't think of right now. But it's a relatively simple setup. You have a light attack, a heavy attack, and a shield. But, and I talked about the story being a bit cookie cutter and a bit nice and lacking a bit of bite. But the combat itself can get a little bit spicy. There's a bit more involved. Like, the majority of the enemies I came across, apart from the tiny grunts, felt like they posed some threat to me. And there's decent imagination and variation in how you take them down, and how when you get a new weapon, you'll instantly be introduced to a baddie that can only be defeated by using this weapon. So, for example, when I came across, use the bomb and it will separate the enemy will sort of expand, and you'll see a glowy bit that isn't there unless you use the bomb. So it's, like, it's more involved. Like, I wouldn't compare. I know I've been going back to Uncharted. Like, the combat is way more sophisticated than, say, an original Uncharted. But the big thing with the combat, and I can imagine is that everyone will have a similar experience, is that the rot is what makes this game stand out far and away above anything else when it comes to its combat and its the puzzling within the environment as well. Because I like the rot themselves. You can find them scattered about. Like, they are not a collectible, but just something that you can buy into the game. I don't know how many you'll have, but you'll find them scattered about the world, and you interact with them, and then they become yours. And a lot of people will love how adorable, how cutie they are, big cartoonishly sized adorable eyes. But in combat, they're vicious little bastards, which is great. So you can target an enemy, fire the rot their way, and they will either tie up your enemy, making them easier for you to take down, or they'll sort of bonk the head of the enemy and nip away at their health bar. But you can also upgrade them a couple of times as well. One that I used a lot was, like, you can infuse your bow and arrow with, I don't know, rot juice, rottiness. You don't kill any rot in the process, thankfully. And your bow and arrow then packs a bit more of a punch. But, which is nice, like, it's balanced well, because you can't actually spam baddies with the rot. Like, and this ties in, I suppose, to the fact that they are these tiny little creatures. You have to, and maybe this also ties into my issue with the game lacking a bit of bite, you have to build up the rot's courage before they go into battle. And it's basically just another little meter that you need to be mindful of. And you build it up as well quite easily just by hacking and slashing at the baddies that are in front of you. Then you build up the courage meter, then you're able to use one of the rot. Like,
Right.
As I mentioned, you can feel games like Horizon Zero Dawn in the combat, but this element definitely adds something. It adds a little bit extra to it. And they also...
What's this giant rotworm?
Well, thank you, Matthew. You've brought me to my next point, because another game that it reminds me a lot of is Pikmin.
I was going to say, I'd hoped this had a Pikmin element to it.
Yes. So as well as helping you defeat all the baddies, the Pikmin also help you tackle environmental puzzles as well. So you can point at a large block that you can't move, get the Pikmin to move it, and they'll happily do that. And then they're not just for like grabbing a block and putting it there. They're also able to I suppose they're vital for sort of cleaning up this world which has become corrupted as well, and then that will give you karma, which you can then use as an upgrade point to put into whatever. And that cleaning up the world, I suppose that comes down to, you'll come to an area and there'll be a statue that is fallen over. You just point the rot at it, they pick it up, you get karma. There are these you can get them to like eat these little fruits. That'll give you karma, that type of thing. So they are, important to upgrade your character, to open up new areas. And yes, that big little snake, that just big snake rot creature also helps you clear away corruption, which then which is blocking paths. But also, you can use that rot snake in combat as well, so that they can swipe away at baddies. Like the rot are the clear star of the show.
Yeah.
But
it's weird that they're called the rot. It's such an unpleasant name for such cute creatures.
I like it. I like the dichotomy there, yeah. But even though, with all that said, I don't know. It's I think it's good. Like I think it's decent, but I just think that it feels very much to me like game one of a good idea. You know those games.
That makes sense given the studio's backstory. And...
Yeah. There are things to like, no doubt about that, but it just is lacking something for me to kind of tie all of these ideas together.
I must admit, like, when they showed this at like various PlayStation conferencey things or whatever, or various streaming events, it had a kind of a sort of veneer of like next genness, in that it looked, something about the animation, the lighting of the particular locations they showed off. It had that kind of like, oh, this looks this looks like a next step of some kind. I will say, watching your footage here, it's a bit more standard. It doesn't
I think in motion it does look nice. It does. Like,
it looks nice, but I wasn't
blown away.
I think some people are like, see this as like a big, like, generational leap. Like it's a showpiece for PS5, for example. Where I'm like, yeah, I mean, it looks fine. It looks nice, but it's not that,
No, I mean, I don't know what game has been. There's probably something now I'm kind of missing. That has been a generational.
Yeah, I just remember a lot of the chat around this being about the way it looked and everything, and actually in motion, or just seeing how the world's structured. You're like, I can see this as a bit more of a traditional kind of like, guided. It's a guided action adventure. Through tunnels with very nice scenery around them.
and it is very nice, yeah. Is it transcendent? Possibly not. But it is very nice. The animation in the rot are, adorable. The cutscenes are quite impressive, and the lighting in the kind of jungly areas is very nice as well. But yeah, transcendent, possibly not. could probably say that about a lot of the aspects of this game. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. You know, not everything has to be a Deathloop.
Not everything has to be a Deathloop.
And I wouldn't say Kana is, but at the same time, thought it was decent. I enjoyed it. With caveats, yes. Anyway, said all that. So those are the games that we've been playing over the past weeks. Now it's time to test the knowledge of one another with a little game that we like to call Mystery Steam Reviews. And it's going to work this week. I promise.
It's time for Mystery Steam Reviews. Yeah.
Yes! Mystery Steam Reviews is the part of the PC Gaming Weekspot where I, Colin Mahern, and he, Matthew Castle, test the knowledge of one another via Steam reviews that are a mystery. And the rules are as follows. Both I and Matthew bring 3 Steam reviews to the MSR arena, but we omit the name of the game associated with each review. Our opponent must correctly guess the game attached to each review. One correct answer equals 1 point. While both of us have 90 seconds on each MSR, we both also have help in the form of 3 lifelines. These lifelines can be used at any stage during battle and also pause the 90-second timer. Each lifeline can only be used once and once only, and they are as follows. Publisher, where the hot seat haver learns the publisher of the game. Second opinion, where a second review is given to the fiery chair sitter. And a genre, where the genre of the game is revealed to the one with the warm arse. Now, oops, don't want to start the timer just yet. Getting a bit ahead of ourselves. So, the topic this week is fairly open, I feel. It's essentially games with robot protagonists. But to take any sort of iffiness out of that, it's games with robot protagonists, games with pilotable mechs, and games with protagonists that have robot limbs. So in case we had something where they're not a full robot, we could just take all that out. So it's just robot-y games.
Robot-y.
I think we're okay. I think we'll do all right. So, Matthew, would you like your first Mystery Steam review?
Hit me up.
The sheer volume of philosophical thinkers either directly quoted or referenced indirectly in this game is actually fairly telling on behalf of the mindset of its creator. This game manages to be fun, bizarre, interesting, and gorgeous at the same time. Play it. It's great. That's from Chig Baron of Beard. It is recommended with 45.1 hours on record. Matthew, your time starts now.
Okay. So, philosophical thinkers. So we're thinking smart game. A smart game by a smart person. Or... No, smart game, yeah, philosophical thinkers. It's fun though. It's bizarre, interesting, gorgeous. Who uses philosophical thinkers and references them? So it'd be robotic stuff about, like, you know, there's quite a lot of philosophy in the I can't say that word. Philosophy in Talon Principle, but I don't think it's that. Can I get my publisher?
You can pause the timer at 20 or 34 seconds as Matthew uses his publisher lifeline. So the publisher of this video game is Square Enix. Square Enix. Restarting the timer, 34 seconds now.
Oh, well, this has to be Nier Automata, I believe. Because that's got loads of references to, like, the robots are named after philosophers and things. It's sort of fun. It's gorgeous. 45 hours, that seems legit. I thought this might be like an idiot talking about Detroit. Is that on PC? I think it is.
Is that your final answer?
Nier Automata, yeah.
I am going to point out for the people at home, myself and Matthew don't have sound effects. I have now lost the sound effects, so again, the drama is taken out for us a little bit, but it's fine. You'll have it in post. So, a game that referenced philosophical thinkers, said it was fun, bizarre, gorgeous, 45 hours. Matthew, you've ended up on Nier Automata. And I can tell you that the correct answer is... Nier Automata!
Yes! Very underwhelming without the sound effects. Oh, yes! Can you imagine if Chris Tarrant was like...
deathly silent in the studio.
This is the £1 million question. I have to warn you, if you get it right, we haven't got the sprinkles that come down from the ceiling. All our sound effects are broken.
But the people on ITV will hear it. You won't hear it.
You're a millionaire! Oh, great. Thank you, sir.
Matthew, could I have my first Mystery Steam review, please?
Fully procedural animation is kind of neat in principle, but in practice, it really got in the way of my fun. The robot character you play this game is cute, but he handles with the crispness of pudding. Pudding, which is also tired and drunk. Says Ridian. They do not recommend it after 8.5 hours.
Okay, starting the timer now. Fully procedural animation is kind of neat. The robot character, so it's a cutesy robot, but he handles poorly.
Like a drunk pudding.
It's that fully procedural animations thing that's catching me. A cutesy robot. I think I'm going to have to... I don't think I'm going to waste too much time, and I might use one of my lifelines. Matthew, could I'm going to pause the timer 57 seconds. Matthew, could I have my publisher lifeline, please?
Can indeed. The publisher is Ubisoft.
Okay, 57 seconds restarting now. It's the procedural animation thing that's throwing me. Maybe I shouldn't be focusing on that too much, more focusing on the fact that it's a cutesy robot. He handles like a drunk wombat or whatever it was.
Pudding.
Pudding. Easily mistaken.
Don't confuse those. Your dinner party will be a nightmare.
Grow Home. Cutesy robot.
Is that your final answer?
You said Ubisoft, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is Grow Home. There's no mention of a sequel in the initial review. Grow Home, Chris. Yep.
Is that your final answer?
Final answer.
So, you're thinking Ubisoft? You're thinking cutesy robot? Surely there can only be one answer. Or have you forgotten something quite major? The correct answer is... Grow Home! Yes! Now the question is Grow Home also going to be one of yours? There was a hint. There was a hint in your answer there of the old Grow Home. We'll see.
I'm an honest man, Matthew. I'd tell you if it was. Matthew, do you want your second Mystery Steam review?
I do.
You're going to get it either way. You're
I
getting
think it might be Grow Home.
You're getting it now. Jack and the Beanstalk Simulator 2015. And that's from Chili. It is recommended 7.8 hours on record, 6 hours at review time. Matthew, your time starts now.
It's Grow Home. It's Grow Home. Stop the timer.
And the correct answer is Grow Home!
Yes! I just had that inkling the way you said it. I was like, no way.
What a waste! I even used a lifeline to try and throw you off.
Oh.
Matthew, could I have my second Mystery Steam review, please?
Bad luck, chum. I enjoyed flying around and bringing death from above, but after the first 10 or 20 minutes, it was more like riding a turtle while it's on sand walking uphill. Weird metaphor. The RTS experience is bare bones. It's like they gave up halfway and went, this'll do. Says Valor Prophecy. They do not recommend it after 1.4 hours.
Okay, time starts now. Okay, I think I'm genuinely struggling with this. Bringing death from above, so you're either a bird or a plane or something.
It's not grow home.
Although he does go quite high in that beanstalk, so it could be grow home. Like riding a turtle. So it just controls like shit. And the RTS part of it. Bringing death from above. Shit. The RTS part of it. Pausing timer of 55 seconds. Matthew, could I have my second opinion, please?
This game has the honour of becoming one of the most boring FPSs and RTSs I've ever played, at least for the campaign. After the first mission, which was about 15 minutes of non-stop enemy waves, mindless companion AI, paper-thin strategy and boring gunplay, I wanted to blow my brains out.
55 seconds, restarting the timer now. I've gone completely blank. An FPS with real-time strategy, and you are a robot, you control a robot, you have a robot arm.
You're gonna kick yourself.
Oh, God. An FPS with real-time strategy. What is this? I've gone blank now. I can't even think of what other games I have. I've chosen for you. Oh, look. Why not? Doom.
For old time's sake.
Yeah.
Is that the final answer?
Yeah.
So,
shit.
You've settled on Doom. Does this have death from above? I guess it does. Does it have real-time strategy elements? Only a very bold review would claim that. The correct answer is disintegration.
Ah, shit. Balls. Yep, I did play that. You knew I played that. I, like everyone else, forgot
what
that
a
game
forgettable
existed.
game.
Yeah. Matthew, for a clean sweep, your third and final Mystery Steam review is as follows. A wannabe Dark Souls clone with parkour. One hit and you're dead. So get ready to replay segments over and over. I wouldn't be surprised if they set the unchangeable difficulty so high to hide how short the game actually is. I refunded it immediately. That's from Sledgehammer. Not recommended. 0.1 hours on record. So to be fair, they did refund it quite quickly. Matthew, your time starts now.
Could I get genre and second opinion?
Yes,
actually,
you
no.
can.
I don't need them.
What?
I don't need them.
Okay, I've restarted the timer.
I think this is, I think I reviewed this. I think this is the one with the ninja boy, because he's got like a robot arm and he dies really quickly. And it's like, I
mean, you do have your lifelines if you want them.
No, I know what it is. I reviewed it because it's got that. It's a bit like Titanfall. Like you can run on the walls, but you die instantly. Ghost Ninja. That's what it's called.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer. Bad luck, my friend.
So, instantly recognized, spoke about it being difficult, unchangeable difficulty. Just like a wannabe Dark Souls it mentioned. Just a lot of things that pointed you to a game that you said you reviewed. Fairly recent game, only last year. You said Ghost Ninja. Confident. Yep. Even said bad luck, my friend, there after submitting the answer.
I'm convinced that this is right.
And I can tell you, Matthew, that the correct answer is Ghost Runner. Ghost Runner.
Oh, fuck, of course it's called Ghost Runner.
I mean, I feel like you can appreciate that's one that it'd be tough to give you that one. And also, it's funnier seeing as you said, bad luck, my friend, when you submitted the answer. And I think the people at home can appreciate the comedy in how confident you were and leaving 2 lifelines. I mean, to be maybe you still would have said.
I knew what it was.
Maybe you still would have said Ghost Ninja. I can't believe I've been given this chance to bring it back. But don't worry, I'm having an absolute nightmare, so I doubt I will. Matthew, could I have my final Mystery Steam review, please?
This is purely a puzzle game with superficial mech flavour. They could change it to a fantasy setting with magical beasts and no value is lost. The difficulty of the puzzle varies from easy to super difficult, whatever your setting is. Those who know how to play chess will recognise the similarity to finding a solution to a checkmate in 3 moves puzzle, says Lilac Bloom. They do not recommend it after 32.9 hours.
Okay, time starts now. Have you picked my an Achilles heel? Have you picked some form of turn-based strategy? 3 moves... puzzle game, superficial mech flavour. Yeah, don't worry about it, Matthew. You've still won this. But, you know, while we're here, I'll pause the timer at 109. Could I have my genre, please?
It's a turn-based strategy game.
Yeah, of course it is. Restarting the timer now. Mech Warrior 5. No idea. No idea. I think 5 was the most recent one.
Is that your final answer?
I mean, why bother waste time and for me to piss about and go, I don't know, could it be Titanfall? Yeah, Mech Warrior 5, why not? Final answer.
It's good that you value the viewer's time.
Yeah, you gotta.
They've said Mech Warrior 5? Is that a turn-based strategy game? I guess we'll find out in a second.
No idea.
The correct answer is Into the Breach.
Shit, if I actually thought about it for a second, I might have gotten that one.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Shite. Oh well, congratulations, Matthew. An exciting topsy-turvy Mystery Steam reviews this week. But hold your horses, Matthew. Not the only Mystery Steam reviews this week.
It's time for Mystery Steam reviews. Yeah.
Yes! Double MSR. So, I know. So last week, the recording just ate up last week's Mystery Steam reviews, wherein we challenged each other on real people in video games. I'll explain it in a second. So what we're going to do instead this week, Matthew, is because I can control all the buttons here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge you on the 6 Mystery Steam reviews we did last week. So it gives the people at home...
I probably remember some of them.
You probably remember quite a lot of them, but it gives the people at home a chance to get an extra 6 Mystery Steam reviews if they want it.
Okay.
So
if I tell you what, if I don't get for 6 for 6, this will be bad.
So the rules are... We did celebrities before. This is different. This is depictions of real people just in history, in life, in video games. So, I think that's clear enough. Matthew, your first Mystery Steam review, and I will say, do you want to say no lifelines? Do you want to say...
6 for 6, no lifelines.
We'll say no lifelines, and to speed it up, I'm going to say 30 seconds per Mystery Steam review.
Doesn't matter.
Just to kind of give it...
Easy peasy.
A bit more. Right, okay, so your first Mystery Steam review is as follows. Oh yeah, this was a long one. I forgot that, yeah.
Christ.
While the main story can be seen as a revenge story, there's enough twists and interesting moments. The combat reminds me of Shadow of Mordor or Arkane. There's also plenty of sneaking and assassinating, and there are also naval missions. If you've played the 6th or the 7th entries in the series, they're not too special. Probably the most frustrating thing that I ran into was my horse kept getting stuck on random bits of terrain. Overall though, this is a wonderful game. It's different enough from the previous titles but still retains the series feel. And that's from Uri123. It is recommended 38.5 hours on record. Matthew, your time starts now.
Fortunately for you, I remember what this is. I thought this was Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. It wasn't. This is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because it has the naval combat in it. Horse naval combat, Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
Well done. And stuck to the 30 seconds as well. Very impressed. So what did you say? Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Yep.
Matthew, I can tell you that the correct answer is Assassin's Creed 3. Assassin's Creed 3.
Oh, no, not again. It doesn't have a horse. It does have a horse.
Yeah, I think it does have a horse. I don't know, but
Did I do that? That's what happened last week.
That's what happened last week, yeah.
Oh.
All right, not a great start, but let's see how we go on.
I thought it was Assassin's Creed 4 last week. No, it wasn't Assassin's.
No,
it
it's
was...
just the same games, yeah. Right, Matthew, your second Mystery Steam review. Amazing recreation of the ancient Chinese history, with the only downside that many famous characters did not have their unique portrait, and that the Wu dynasty cannot initiate naval battles which made them revered in history. And that's from Kenichi What's Up. It is it's still funny. It was funny last week, it's funny this week. It's recommended 23.1 hours on record, 17.3 hours at time of review. Matthew, your time starts now.
This is Total War 3 Kingdoms.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
And the correct answer is Total War 3 Kingdoms.
And that was one of mine, so I should remember it.
That was indeed one of yours. I've jumbled up the order just to try and
trick me
somewhat. Right, Matthew, your third Mystery Steam review is as follows. A very odd game that records your moves like you're in a movie, controlling both the murderer and cops in a limited area. And that's from Dustin. It is not recommended. 0.4 hours on record. Matthew, your time starts now.
This is... this is a David Cage game. Is it Heavy Rain? No, it's Fahrenheit, because it's got David Cage in the tutorial. That's what it is.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
And the correct answer is Fahrenheit. Again, another one of yours, so I'm glad you got that right. I did not get that right last week. Your fourth Mystery Steam review, Matthew Castle, is as follows. The humour still holds up for a game made in the mid-90s. The voice acting is still on the nose. The music is excellent. The puzzles, while weird, do, for the most part, make some quirky sense, except that damn making it rain puzzle. The art is good. And that's from Spat of Arc. It is recommended 7.8 hours on record. Matthew, your time starts now.
I think this was a point and click game. This is... It's got historical figures in it. So it is Day of the Tentacle, because it's got the founding fathers in it.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
And the correct answer is Day of the Tentacle. I'm enjoying this kind of absolute just blowing through them as quick as possible. What was that? That was your fourth. Matthew, your fifth Mystery Steam review on Real People is as follows. First of all, the pacing is atrocious, as it's bogged down by interminable pre-rendered cutscenes and non-stop stealth sections, and the silence pistol is significantly less accurate this time round. Level design is also a mixed bag, with larger levels that are confusing to navigate and will have you running into invisible walls. Another huge issue with the combat is the imbalanced difficulty. The player is incredibly vulnerable to enemy fire compared to the first game. In conclusion, it's a mediocre shooter with excellent production values that is only worth getting at a large discount or for die-hard fans. And that's from Rayla. It is not recommended. 13.3 hours on record. Matthew, your time starts now.
Oh God, I don't remember. It's pre-rendered cutscenes, stealth sections, silent pistol. Oh, it's got these larger levels. It's not Hitman. So it's not got a real person in it. Oh, I genuinely can't remember.
2 seconds. 1
I
second.
don't know. I don't know.
Doom. The correct answer was Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus.
Oh shit! Of course it was.
I think you got that last week, but with lifelines, to be fair, and an extra minute as well. Matthew.
It's got old Hitler in it.
It does. Old Adolf. Matthew, your 6th and final Mystery Steam review is as follows. A blast from the past that my older self is now slapping his younger self for realising how bad the pathfinding can be at times. Countless frustrations in either game trying to tell units to go somewhere and just watching them sit there with their rifles up their asses or turrets up their treads. And that's from Scuba Cuda. It is recommended 351.1 hours on record, 342.7 hours at time of review. Matthew, your time starts now.
I remember this one because we were talking about Command & Conquer afterwards. This is the Command & Conquer Remastered Collection. It doesn't feature Tim Curry going, space! But we said that a lot. That's why I was really sad.
We got a great bit out of it.
Is
that your final answer, Matthew?
Huge laughs. I thought it was a classic episode, and then it didn't record properly.
It was an awful shame. But yeah, that's your final answer?
Yeah. Space! Okay.
And the correct answer is Command & Conquer Remastered.
Yeah.
Yes. It was absolutely excellent. We got about, I'd say, 25 minutes on Tim Curry saying space and how your version sounded like Borat. It was excellent. And it was an awful shame. Right. It was an awful shame that the people at home didn't get to hear it.
There's a little taste of what you missed.
But yeah, well done, Matthew. You got all of your ones right and one of mine. So you can consider
I won last
that.
week though, didn't I?
You did, yeah. I think you won two. I think it was 2-1. So you got one extra. Then anyway.
Well, I got one less of yours.
This week you got one less. Yeah, last week you got one extra.
That just shows what bullshit Mystery Steam Reviews is.
So yeah, hopefully that satiated people's appetites for Mystery Steam Reviews. There, you got 2 this week. But now, Matthew, it's time to turn to the people and their correspondence, and indeed their burning questions. Yes, burning questions is the part of the PC Gaming Weekspot where indeed we take your correspondence, your burning questions. You can email us at any stage throughout the week, weekspot@rockpapershotgun.com, and then we may read it out on the show. Let's see what we have here, Matthew. Starting us off, of course, is the absolute delight, the legend that is Mog, who gave us 10 English pounds during the YouTube premiere on youtube.com/rockpapershot of the video version of the PC Gaming Weekspot. Thank you very much, Mog. You're a star. Mog said, "Welcome back, chaps. I hope you had a fantastic break. What are your favourite self-indulgent junk foods? I am quite partial to a KFC variety meal. Other fried chicken sellers are available." So your favourite self-indulgent junk foods or restaurants, or I don't know if I suppose he's asking specifically for selections on the menu at these places.
I mean, I really like the very partial to a bacon double cheeseburger at Burger King.
Yes.
I don't really like McDonald's.
Thank you. We agree on chocolate. We agree on food. I think Burger King genuinely make decent burgers. Yes, they're not as nice as what you're going to get in, an actual restaurant. But I still think that like their burgers, they shit on McDonald's burgers.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they're actually like a decent burger.
Yeah. They're much tastier. I prefer their chips. Burger King is like, I don't actually feel bad about having a Burger King. I know it's terrible for you, but it's nice.
So I would agree with you.
Where do you stand on like the rise of the ultra junk food where it's like mega expensive and pretends to be a bit classier, like your Five Guys or your Smash Burger, where it gets a little bit like, oh, that'll be £8 for a milkshake, and you're like, what? How does that happen?
I haven't had a Five Guys in a while. I mean, I only passed the Five Guys at the weekend and I was like, it's been too long, my friend. I will be back because it is delicious. But yeah, I mean, the price of it does sting. It 100%. It's way too expensive.
I just don't feel like I should have to remortgage my house to buy some chips. Like that seems like an unreasonable thing to ask.
100% have to sacrificing the soul of your firstborn child for a burger, and it's like, I mean, it is a tasty burger. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Five Guys. I think it is very nice. I mean, again, terrible for you. You should have it in moderation, etc., but very tasty. In terms of the kind of McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, I like a Zinger Tower burger meal. I think KFC is nice. I really like KFC. Not a fan of KFC.
Find their chips are measly. And
this is where, Matthew, this is where, little tip from the top there, you get an extra portion. An extra portion of chips, like a right fat bastard. But they're only £1.50 for an extra portion, and then it feels like a real portion. I find that
the chips are a little flimsy. There's a dampness to their chips.
Okay, you want a bit more crunch? Fair, yeah.
There's a dampness to them. Yeah. I find also some of their buns verge on stale. They would say maybe it's deliberately hard, but I would say stale.
Okay, I haven't come across that myself, but
maybe it's just the Bath thing. But I've had a couple of KFCs, fair. And I'm like,
I'm also a fan, I must say, of a sandwich, a Subway sandwich, because they are no doubt in this category. Don't fool yourself by going, stick a bit of cucumber in there, please, sandwich artist. It's like you're still getting like a meatball marinara, soggy. But it's tasty. I do like it. Oh,
never a meatball marinara.
Oh, soggy.
It's got like no structural integrity because the sauce, it just collapses in your hands. That is
I'm getting deja vu.
That is mission impossible. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to eat this without getting it all over your fucking hands. Tom Cruise would not manage it.
I'm getting deja vu. I'm pretty sure we've actually done this bit before. But yeah, all those, lovely. Our next question here is from Lalithendu, who said, hello, dear Colm and Matthew. Hope you guys are doing well. My question is there any game or genre that you really liked but left you an itch and you can't find any other game that can scratch that? Also, please recommend good games that are XCOM 2, that are like XCOM 2. I've played Invisible Inc. and I know about Phoenix Point, but it has mixed Steam reviews. Thank you guys in advance. Lalithendu. Thank you, Lalithendu. Question 1, Matthew. A game or genre that you really liked, but you knew you were never able to replicate that feeling, left you with an itch you could not scratch.
Oh yeah, like recently, like Obra Dinn. I love detective games. That's raised the bar. Every other detective game is kind of just so sort of flimsy compared to that one in its ideas. But short of that guy making another thing like that, which I don't think Lucas Pope will. I don't know there'll ever really be anything quite to match that. Yeah, I'm always on the lookout for detective games. I'll play any detective game, but most of them are a bit so.
Not as good as Obra Dinn. I enjoy your, and it's not like we do get them; they do come out. But I enjoy your sort of weird. You're playing one game and then it goes, aha, you're inside the game, you're doing whatever.
Like Pony Island.
That's the exact game I was going to bring up. Pony Island for me is mwah. Oh, what an absolute fantastic video game that is. And I have played others like it since. That was 2016, I think. But nothing ever kind of reached that height for me.
Games that break the fourth wall.
Basically. Just kind of fuck with your head a little bit and just have something a bit kind of innovative to them.
Have you played There Is No Game?
I haven't.
I should play that. It's not as sinister as the Daniel Mullins stuff, but it's pretty great.
And yeah, their second question was just games that are like XCOM 2.
But I actually think Phoenix Point's all right. I played it at launch when it was arguably a lot ropier and thought it was pretty solid. XCOM alike.
Gears Tactics, you love that?
Yeah, I really like Gears Tactics. Gears Tactics doesn't have like the sort of the meta like world level to it. It's just the levels, but the actual like combination of abilities and the incredible turns you can have are really, really good. I think Gears Tactics is properly underrated in the genre. Super polished as well, compared to XCOM, I think.
I mean, I'll stick one in there that, and I don't think it's perfect, and also it's not on PC. Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, I think was a massive surprise. I think it's really good. I think it's a bit long, but I think that's very good. But yeah, not on PC. Go on.
Also, more character-based, but I really liked Mutant Year Zero, which has the kind of XCOM turn system, but it's sort of like the levels are like embedded in larger levels, and you have like freedom to walk around and sort of engage from certain angles. It's got a bit more of a stealth angle to it. It's a bit more like character-led, story-led, but I really like that.
So yeah, thank you very much for that question. Our next one comes from Emil, who said, "Hello, Colm and Matthew. Thanks for the always entertaining pod, one of the highlights of the week. I've got a burning question for your consideration. Is there a game that, when you haven't played it for a while, you can get a real urge to replay, but that when you do, you realise it's not quite what you remembered it to be, and you get your fill relatively quickly? The Civilization games are like that for me. I can get a real hankering for some conquering, but then I eventually sit down to play it. But when I eventually sit down to play it, I barely get past the classical era before feeling like I've had enough. Cheers, Emil from Uddevalla, Sweden. And also, Uddevalla, Sweden, Matthew, Emil has given us a local fact, where what was once the world's biggest oil tanker, the TT Nanny, was built. So thank you very much for that, Emil. And I apologise, that wasn't your email. That was me struggling to parse words and letters at this time. But yeah, a game that you go, oh, I'd love to play that, Matthew. Or yeah, I'd love to play that. And then when you do, you're like, I've had enough after a certain amount of time.
I don't tend to go back to things too much. I can sometimes get that with like Yakuza games, where I have such a good time with them. They're such fond memories, but then you replay them and you just want to hit
phenomenal.
The peaks. Well, no, but you want to hit the peaks that you've remembered.
Yeah.
That's where, and then I'm like, oh man, the stuff I really like, or like, you know, having to work back up through the skill tree to get all the moves that I want to do and all that kind of stuff takes a while.
That can be a pain in general in anything with an RPG progression system, where you're like, oh yeah, I didn't get my super mega punch until I was 20 hours in. And it's like,
had it a bit weirdly with the Mass Effect remaster stuff as well.
Right.
Where I was like, oh yeah, I'm really up for Mass Effect. And then I played like the first couple of hours of the first one and was like, yeah. Like, they're fine. Like, I liked them originally. They're locked in as happy memories. That's that.
I mean, that's a lot. You know, the games are far better in our heads than and our memories of, especially older games. So yeah, I would be pretty similar. And let's try. We've two more. Let's try and do these. From Ryan. Ryan said, "Howdy, fellas. I'm puzzled by the fact that Deathloop is receiving much higher scores than Prey did. I consider Prey the better game, but maybe the market wants more accessible games from Arkane. Do you agree with the critical consensus on these two games? Why or why not?" We've did a half an hour on Deathloop, so we kind of, I think the two of us agree, yeah, it's very good. I really liked Prey. I really liked it. I thought, one of my lasting memories with Prey is the ending didn't land for me, because it felt, without spoiling anything, because I think it is a great game, and you know, if you're into that type of game, you should play it. But I thought the ending was was telegraphed, and I was like, yeah, well, obviously. And it felt like the game was going, aha! And it just didn't land for me. But I loved the mixing of how like the glue gun basically, and how weapons can tie into you getting around this world. And yeah, I really like Prey. I don't know how did you find it? Did you play Prey?
Yeah, I did. I do really like Prey. I think it's the problem I have with Prey is I really hate the aliens in it, like the threat,
the mimic,
the mimic, just the design of them. I don't really like the combat in Prey. I really like the sneaking around. I love the design of the ship. I love how complete and thought out that world is. Arguably more complete and well thought out than Black Reef in Deathloop. Like Deathloop hasn't got, there are bigger areas, but it doesn't necessarily have like the room for room density that Prey has. But no, I never really clicked with fighting the actual aliens in Prey or the big thing. They kind of, I don't know, I thought they sort of sucked, and they definitely dented my enjoyment of it. So I'm enjoying Deathloop more. I don't think Deathloop is simpler. I think it's I think it's better at getting you to, as I said earlier, just play with all its moving parts in a way that they've struggled with in the past. I think it puts its best foot forward a bit more clearly than Prey. I still really love Prey. Don't get me wrong. I just find the combat in that game not very good.
Prey is actually in terms of if we were ranking Arkane stuff, Prey would be. Dishonored is Prey, like what it sounds like Prey is to you, Dishonored is to me, and it was the stealth in Dishonored that I could never. It always felt a bit iffy.
Dishonored 2 is still their best game for me by quite some way. I think it is. I think it's definitely better than Prey and Deathloop.
Yeah, I just the no, I don't. Did I play Dishonored 2? I don't think I did, so I'm just kind of thinking about the first one.
The level concepts are just, and the
the
mix
world
of
is amazing. The stealth didn't really work for me though.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. And our final question is from Daniel. Daniel said, "Good morning. It's morning here in the States. Do you lads have a fursona? If not, what would they be? I'm an otter, obviously. Love, Daniel P. Lopez, quasi otter." Thank you very much, Daniel.
That adds up.
Do you have a fursona, Matthew?
I don't.
Do you know what a fursona is? Because I don't. Could you explain it to me if you do?
Isn't it like an alter ego? It's like an animal. Isn't that it?
According to Google, a fursona inspired by the Lion King. What? A fursona is a, quote, furry-themed avatar, which furries use to represent themselves when interacting with other members of the fandom.
Yeah. I must admit, I wouldn't necessarily count myself as part of the furries fandom.
No?
Nothing against it, of course.
I thought you would.
But it's just not something... The thing is, the truth is, I'm not massively, I'm not a big animal person. So the idea of me kind of imagining myself as an animal is quite unlikely. But
a cat, surely?
Yeah, I just don't really have a desire to.
You don't want to play along. Don't want to play the game. Had enough.
It's like, yeah, it's a little bit too close to being one of Sonic's mates, and that I am against.
And here I was thinking this would be a light, fun way to. And Matt, no, I don't. I'm not having any of that.
I'm not in a super negative way. I'm just saying.
Name an animal. Throw an animal out there.
Oh, if you put a gun to my head,
a sloth,
and said you have to think of yourself as an animal. Like I like our cat. We have cats, so I guess a cat.
I'm going to say a sloth right now, which I shouldn't be. It should be a tiger or an antelope. I really need to.
Do antelopes have fur? Don't they have to have fur? Or was it any animal? Can a fursona be a snake?
Could I be a blue whale? Would that be allowed? Is it? I'm guessing. Yeah, that makes sense. Why would your fursona be?
I think you have to have fur, but yeah. I don't know. I guess an otter has fur, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just wetted down a lot.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I assume people assign these things themselves and they're not given to them. It's not like a sorting hat deal.
I would imagine it is something you choose. But I could be wrong. Daniel, if you want to email
clarify.
Yeah, that I would genuinely appreciate that. And I'd like to know if, where do we land on feathers? Is that, it's hair on the body of an animal, but is that not allowed? Does it specifically need to be fur? If you could email in, Daniel, and everyone else, if you want to do, you can get your burning questions into us, Weekspot at rockpapershotgun.com. Yeah. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the PC Gaming Weekspot. If you want more of us, if you want ways to get more of us, there are ways. You can follow us on social media. I am at Colm_Hearn. Matthew's at Mr. Basil_Pesto. Rock Paper Shotgun is at Rock Paper Shot. If you want to talk to some like-minded people, go to discord.gg/Rock Paper Shotgun. If you want to watch the PC Gaming Weekspot, go to youtube.com/Rock Paper Shot. If you want to subscribe to any of Rock Paper Shotgun's lovely podcasts, just search from there. You'll find them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. But if you want some Rock Paper Shotgun t-shirts and whatnot, go to store.repop.com. You can find them there. If you want to support the website, go to rockpapershotgun.com/subscribe, where you get an ad-free website, extra articles, extra podcasts. But do remember, for all of your Rock Paper Shotgun and PC gaming needs, go to rockpapershotgun.com. Matthew, a packed Deathloop-filled episode of this week's edition of the PC Gaming Weekspot. I wonder what next week will bring. Who knows? Another exciting 2 hours, no doubt. But now it's time for my least favourite part of the show. This is the part of the show. You look so sad. We must bid the listener adieu. And it is sad. You are right to be sad. So say goodbye, Matthew Castle.
Goodbye.
And say goodbye, Colm Ahern Sloan. Go